Hello, welcome to the Recognitive channel where we are about learning and relearning. This is a personal project that is sponsored by my free time. Let's start with a challenge. Take out a piece of paper and a pen. Now think about work or school. You are in a normal day. Now in that piece of paper, please write the name of 6 persons that you meet frequently. Now please rate each person depending on what you feel about them. A D for dislike, an N for neutral, and L for like. Of your list, how many D's did you get? How many N's did you get? How many L's did you get? Most likely, you only mention people you like. And if this is the case, or close, according to some scientists, you may have shown one of the ways that the positivity bias acts upon us. Let's talk about the positivity bias. In this video, we will define the positivity bias, several ways that it presents itself, and some conflicts between this bias and a bias I have already made a video before. Then, we will talk about examples, a little bit about me. But before that, we will do a big disclaimer. The author of the Cognitive Bias Codex placed positivity effect, linked to a very poor Wikipedia article. I believe that the positivity effect, lacking other positivity-related biases in the codex, is also the positivity bias, or the Pollyanna principle, and in this video, I am assuming it's so. This could be wrong. In this video, I will be using the term Pollyanna. It comes from an early 20th century book, and the character Pollyanna has also been portrayed in many media, including anime. In 1969, Boucher and Osgood documented a Pollyanna hypothesis, where they state that people use more positive words in language. After an inspection of 1,000 references, Matlin and Stang generalized this tendency into a Pollyanna principle. A Pollyanna is a person that looks at the bright side of every misfortune, the silver lining, and remembers only happy events, letting unhappy events go or not bringing them into the discussion. A Pollyanna believes that the world is delightful, including its inhabitants. So in general, a Pollyanna is an eternal optimist. The positivity bias tendencies are clustered among these areas: perception, language, memory, and judgment. Let's explore them one by one. Perception. We seek pleasant items and we avoid unpleasant items. We recognize pleasant items faster than we recognize unpleasant items. And we also judge pleasant items as larger in size versus negative items. Language. We tend to communicate good news more than bad news. You shall speak no evil. Also, in our discourse and writing, pleasant words are used more frequently. When forming an antonym based on another word, we notice that the original word tends to be positive and the antonym is negated. This results in the positive one to be more basic or unmarked. And finally, when listing items, we tend to place the pleasant first. Memory. Pleasant items are more accurately recalled. Personal information is also recalled better when talking about positive characteristics, like feedback for instance. Also, memories grow positive over time. Think about how trips become better and better as time goes by. Finally, mood congruence is when we recall items better when our mood matches them, particularly in a positive state. Judgment. We tend to rate happiness and quality of life higher than neutral most of the times, and we tend to rate ourselves and others in personal abilities and characteristics as better than average. This is actually a very distinct bias in the wheel. An exception to this is when the tasks or skills are challenging. Matlin also explored the ways that positivity presents itself in the same person for the different areas. Several markers were used to assess that. The research team found correlation between these different markers. What this confirms in a way is that what we consider as optimistic people or positive people is measurable. If you are proven to show Pollyannaism in some markers, then you are more likely to present other markers as well. This bias does not have immediate sister or brother. It is related to many others. I will abstain from doing this clarification for now and leave it to when those videos are created. Let's proceed now to clarify some issues with previous videos. Memories growing positive. I think at least part of the memories growing positive has to do with the sense-making process or immune neglect that we spoke about. A memory is a set of experiences, and when one is negative, a lot of attention and weight is placed on it. But then we explain it, and its absolute importance falls. But as since the relative importance also changes, then the positive aspects tend to be larger. Negative or positive stimuli recognized faster. After revisiting the literature of the negativity bias video, I recognized that my challenge might not have been the best one, the one where I ask you to recognize faces. But even in the literature, 2 or 3 studies are cited where the response time is faster for negative stimuli. So I am not the source of the conflict. Positivity and negativity have different activation curves. At normal stimuli, small size, positivity wins. But when the intensity increases, negativity wins. There are arguments that positivity and negativity are functionally different. This means that whether you display a high positivity bias, then it doesn't mean you will show a high negativity bias or extremely low negativity bias. It is not related. This means that whether you display a high positivity bias, it doesn't imply that you will experience a high negativity bias or extremely low negativity bias. They are not correlated at all. This is an opportunity actually. Also, the way that positivity and negativity manifests itself is different from the spontaneous and automatic behaviors that we exhibit, System 1, to the more deliberative and self-reflective behaviors, System 2. This visual comes from the negativity bias video. These are some of the areas where positivity definitely wins. Now let's visit some examples. Positivity bias is an issue in customer reviews or customer feedback. I mentioned this issue in my negativity bias video and how it affects me. The J shape of the feedback was always theorized to be in part due to positivity bias, but not only due to this bias. In a very interesting research, Park and others looked into online customer service conversations. Only a small share of the conversations were linked to online ratings. They used machine learning algorithm to label the rest of the conversations. They trained it using the existing data with ratings. After many validations, they found that there was positivity bias, meaning that the feedback is more positive than it should have been. This highlights the importance of using the right data and how unreliable the data from online reviews is, as it will present similar patterns. I also checked another paper looking only on negative reviews, and it also suffers from positivity bias. Normally, good words are used, but they are negated. According to Matlin, we normally receive more positive feedback than negative. However, you can see that it requires more presentation time in order to recall more feedback. Negative feedback will normally be recalled in the same rate, regardless of how much it's presented. But if enough time is not given, then positive feedback will be recalled less. Does this match your personal experience? Let's evaluate the video. I considered that I scored a 3.5. The brother and sister biases was too much of a challenge for this one, as these two biases are powering or encompassing many others, and I didn't get to speak much about myself as I am partially blind to my own positivity. And now we turn to our roulette for the topic of the next video, and the winner is telescoping effect. Before you go, let me tell you something really quick. In this series, we're exploring the cognitive biases, understanding them, etc. Maybe I have created this antagonist situation where the biases are the enemy and we're trying to beat them. But as I get to know my brain a little bit more, I would like to state the following. Not every bias is evil. We're trying to understand when they are operating, so we're conscious and can apply some measures to avoid it. So who cares if you didn't bring up colleagues you dislike? Maybe that makes sense. But maybe you could ask your Pollyanna side to focus on the likable aspects of that person and look at them from another mirror. Recently I was able to switch the way I view a colleague. I originally felt like I disliked them, and now I'm more neutral, and I even admire some of their traits. Yay! See you in the next episode. This is the Recognitive channel. Thank you for watching.